Hey guys, I wanted to make a shadow box out of this drawer that I had. I had an old vanity that had to be removed, but I kept the drawers, and this was actually the bathroom that was my mother's when she was still alive. So I'm going to put some cashew on the sides. I sanded down the front of the cabinet drawer, took the pull off of it, and or the handle, and you can see I kind of distressed it down to some bare wood too. Put the cashew on, and I'm also putting it on the inside of the drawer just to get a good coat on there. I'm going to be building up the ephemera on this shadow box as we go. And I hope y'all will like this. I think it turned out great, but let's see what you think. So I'm putting this cashew on there, and I know it's boring to watch me paint, but I painted the whole thing, inside of the drawer and the sides. I decided it was a little too yellow, so I added some plaster to it, and I just went around the inside, around the edges, but I also did all the sides with just a kind of a dry brush almost of plaster on top of the cashew so you could see both hues. I just decided the plaster needed to go on top of that cashew because it was just a little too yellowy for me. So we're going to watch me paint all of that real quick. This was a pretty long project, and I had so much fun doing it. I was inspired by a couple different things I saw in Vintage and Thrifted yesterday in that great marathon they had. So I sat around and watched other creators and created this all day and had a great time. So we got that all done. Let it dry. Now I'm sanding the edges just to give that same distressed look to the box that I have on the top and the front of that drawer. Just doing the sides and the edges and all that good stuff. Now what I started doing was I didn't have any old patterns, but I did have this Simplicity transfer kit, and I remember it from when I was about 13 years old because I used it to embroidery some stuff. It was an embroidery transfer. So I'm doing that on the back of the shadow box to do like a rumpled it or crumpled it up, and I'm using that for like my textured background. I'm not worried about the wrinkles. I'm just, decoupaging that on there, and I'll pounce it in a second to just kind of get some of the wrinkles, but I really wanted a few wrinkles because I wanted it to look textured, and I thought what better to use for texture than an old pattern, and I didn't have the pattern, but this sufficed. And you can see I just filled in all the blank spots with it. So that one wrinkle there that I haven't gotten yet is driving me crazy there. I finally got it, so I feel better. So I've got it pounced. I'm pouncing it to just get a little bit of the air bubbles, but like I said, I want it to be a little wrinkly. Now I'm going to start putting in some of the pieces of ephemera. This is all from my mother's sewing kit. I have my mother's old sewing kit that I remember all my life, and there's stuff in there that was mine, like these embroidery kits, but there's also stuff that was my mother's. And then there's something that belonged to my sister and also something that belonged to my dad. So I'm just doing a whole thing here for our little family. And I tore off the front of that Simplicity transfer kit and used some of that. And then there's some instructions that had a little dinge to them, so I took that out, putting that in there. And then I also had some other stuff that was my mom's that we're going to attach in there. The thing about my mom's sewing box, there were two places where my mom hid everything: her jewelry box and her sewing kit. So some of the stuff that's going in here I haven't seen in years, and she put it in there so that we wouldn't lose it. But then, of course, she's just like me. She forgot where she put it. So now we're going to start attaching some of the sewing stuff that I found. And there were a bunch of different old-looking sewing supplies. I forgot. I did do some wax on this to bring out the wrinkles and to dinge it up a little bit. So that's what we're doing now. But y'all have seen me do this 1,000 times. So I used Dixie Belle's Best Darn Wax in brown. And I just kind of dinged up the sides and got the back a little more dingy. So let's see, and I'm blotting it back. All right, so now we're going to start attaching the ephemera stuff, which is just a fancy word for stuff. And this is all stuff that was in my mom's sewing kit. All of it, some of it is super old. Like I'd say 1950s, 1960s. Some of it is from the 70s and 80s when I was, doing crafting and different things. So there's a bunch of different things. That was a needle kit. This is a patch that I had it's got Capricorn on it because you remember we were all cool and put patches on our jeans. There's some Taylor's chalk that I'm just going to use the whole box of that because I think it's really cool. There's a zipper. There's some spools and a thimble and different things. So just kind of got it all in this box and made it into a little heirloom type thing. Some fabric. I'm just hot gluing everything down. I realized at this point that everything was going the same direction, so I had to start making some turns the other direction on some of that I laid down, but it works out okay. So I am going to burn myself here in a few minutes, but it wasn't terrible, so don't worry about me, guys. Right now is when it's coming up. And I did it. Burned myself on my finger. It's okay though. But that was a spool of thread that was like an elastic thread that's been in that drawer box for 100 years. That little notepad that I just held up, that is my dad's when he first moved to Memphis. His business name is on there and his name and our address and everything. Then the first page in it is me listing, I guess I was planning something and I had written down all my friends and it had Nikki, Mary, Leanne, Dee Dee, Jennifer, and somebody else listed. And those are all friends of mine that I have probably been friends with since elementary school. That little Bible that I just glued down, that was my sister's that was given to her in kindergarten. And that was also in my mom's sewing kit. So I thought that would be really kind of cool. And then the rest of this is just old stuff that she had in there that is just old sewing stuff. That's a thing of some old safety pins, and I know somebody's probably going, why didn't you save those? Well, it'll be all right. They look good. So I took the tape measure that was in there too, and I'm going to take that and go around the edge of the box with it just to kind of pull it all together. I thought it would make it look a little more framed and give it a little more dimension. I liked the way it looked, so I took it all the way around, and I cut this, and I don't know that this was a really old one because it was really bright, but it still worked. I just hot glued all this on. I'm going to put a hanger on the back of this. I haven't done it yet, but I am going to put a hanger on the back of this and hang it in the art room. I just trimmed off a little bit of that extra that was at the bottom because it kind of looked funky down there to me. I just really love how this turned out. It made my heart happy making this. I had some good memories of my mom and my dad and my sister, who just lives across town, but I never get to see her. Most of y'all know I was adopted, so I have biological siblings, but this is my sister that I was adopted. She and I were both adopted, and this is who I was raised with. And this is just like our little family heirlooms. I thought it was kind of neat. And I have made my children swear that they're going to hang on to this because it's too special to end up at Goodwill or something. I think I burned myself again. All right, so it looks like I've got everything attached, and I'm happy with it. Got a few more things to put in there. I don't know. I think I made the decision not to. These are jacks. These were my jacks. I played with jacks all the time when I was a kid. I loved them. I could do all the little different types of, I don't remember what they were called, but you did regular, and then you did over the fence and in the eggs in the basket and all these different little jack games, and I could do all of them, and I loved playing jacks. But my dad stepped on those jacks, and that's how come they ended up in my mom's sewing kit. So I glued all of those in there, and I just love the way it looks. And I'm even gonna take, sorry y'all, that's my dog. I'm gonna take the ball and put it in there as well. So that's really all we did to it. And I thought I'd add this spool from Canton that I got for $5. I thought it would be perfect to put in there. So I did end up changing which side I put it on. And I was going to put scissors, but then I decided not to. So this is it, guys. I finished it. There you see me looking at it going, what else do I want to do? I think I'm done. There's the spool. And there's the finished product. And here's a close-up of everything. I'm just really proud of this, y'all. This is something I'm super in love with. I think it looks great. There's so much more stuff in that sewing kit. Oh my gosh, but there's my sister's little Bible, and you'll see her handwriting in the front. Kindergarten, 1973. And this is my dad. Oh, so sweet. And it's our address. This is before they moved into our house. And yeah, just love this. Absolutely love it. I'm probably going to put a little frame with my mom and dad's picture in there, and maybe find one of my sister too to put on top. There's some close-ups, but